Hey everybody, welcome back to Cuddles R Us. Today we're going to be diving into building and we're going to start talking about honeycombing and what's the best kind of practice that you can start doing to protect all of your goods in the deep desert in a PvP area. Maybe you want to, broaden your horizons and step out there in the DD. So with that said, let's jump right in. All right, guys. So I'm going to teach you a couple of little tricks that you can possibly do with your base in the DD to prevent people from destroying your base before you can get back online. Now, storms in the DD, they run about 1 per hour. So you do kind of want to keep that in mind. Maybe you take a couple of times off work, whatever it takes. Or you have guildmates that can maintain the base while you're away. Now, with that said, we want to maximize the amount of stuff that they have to go through and to make sure that we have the best experience in doing so. So first off, we're going to look at how to really honeycomb a base. All right, this is going to be one of the key factors in when you're looking at a base. As you can see, I can have a generator here, so I'm going to put a wall in here. I'll put a wall in here. Now, when doing this, okay, when you brick in your generators, because your generators are going to be your key point of which is going to stop people from being able to destroy your base fully after 6 minutes. So the storm rolls in 6 minutes, your base is fully raidable. But if the power comes back on, they get stuck. All right, they can no longer destroy the walls, nothing like that. So you're good to go. Now, there's a little caveat. So if you pull up your build tool, right, and then you go into your actual building materials, you can actually look and see that like the half walls have 8,000 health to them. You can also see that the full wall has 8,000 health to them. So when we do this, we're going to want to make sure that we're using half walls because they're going to provide the most amount of health available to us. So when we start looking at building half walls, if you look here, we have stairs, we have a roof, we have stairs, okay? So if we were to build this, they will have the stairs to get through, they will have the roof to get through, and they would have another stair to get through, and to another interior wall with another, 16k health, all right? Let me delete this. Because this is a lot to get through. Now, I do recommend that you do this 2 layers. So let me show you another method, because if you can see here, I have a wall here, and you can see that I have 2 separate walls. Okay, let me show you how to get to 2 separate walls, because I think that might be a better idea. So let's start over here. Demolish some of this stuff. Okay. So when you're looking at doing a double wall, okay, you're going to want to go out. I'm using half stair. Okay. You go to your roof, put down a triangle piece, right? You're going to put down a roof, triangle, okay? And this setup right here, okay, is going to allow you to put walls on top of walls. Okay, so that's going to connect you back to this one. Now you're probably looking at the gap and going, they can get in there. Yes, they can. But we have a solution for that. There's one of 2 things that you can do. One, you can put in triangle pieces and do a a V layout that kind of looks like this. All right. And then we cover it up with a full tile so it doesn't look like we have triangles in. And you're like, you don't see a sub-fief console anywhere, because that's actually going to be hidden inside your floor. Now, you can move this sub-fief console anywhere you want it. All right. But how to like maximize your space? Let's say that you're trying to put it in here and you're like, it just won't go. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to move it. All right. If you move it, oh. If you move it and you just place it, you will not be able to put a roof on top of it. All right. So you won't be able to put a roof on top of it. It just won't happen. You're going to have to move it. All right. And then you're going to hold control and then use a scroll wheel, scroll down. So now it is sitting inside this block. We can then go ahead, take that, put it right on top, and there you go. Now your sub-fief console is hidden. All right. We're going to add more layers to this. So you can, you know, if you want to do this layout, it's okay. That's what I normally use. So like we'll just layer it like this, and then I'll grab a roof tile, and I'll put the roof tile over top. All right. Now it doesn't look like there's anything hidden there, and it's fully, it's all gone. Okay. I also put in, if you can see, there's this little gap, and it allows me to put in 2 walls or to block it in. So I'm going to use more walls. Come on. It is kind of hard to build. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a little tricky, but with a little bit of practice, you guys will be able to do it. And now I do recommend that you build one out in the Haga Basin. Like find a nice flat area, build like your general layout, and then use the solo replicator, okay, to replicate the base. Now, with that said, okay, I showed you guys pretty much a honeycomb of things that you can do. All right, so you can put half stair, half wall, you know, your foundation, and no matter what they do, they're going to have to go through all of this before they even touch your base. They're going to have to go through 2 wall layers. All right, back to another honeycomb. Now, this is one of the base setups that we use in the DD. So another base that people like to use is actually considered, I don't know if it's really considered an exploit or anything like that, but I wanted to bring you over to my base to show you what it looks like. So people are using this PentaShield bug to essentially make a box and breaking in their base so where nobody can actually access them. So with that said, let me go ahead and I'll show you in my build tool. If we can see here, see how I have all of these buildable walls. Like, so what I did is I stretched it up all the way up, so then it has something to connect to. Now I can better demonstrate this as a full cube in one of the hangers. So this is what people are putting their base in currently, because right now I mean, I can't talk about Honeycomb in a base and base building without mentioning this. Now, I do think this is going to get patched, and I hope it does. It does take a little bit out of the base building aspect of it, but I'm going to show you this anyway because it is something that you might want to know. So in doing this, what they're doing is they're essentially taking the ghost walls, okay, and attaching the PentaShields to the ghost walls, all right? And essentially you just make an outward C, an inward C, and you can put this all the way around your base, build your base inside here, because one of the things that the PentaShields have that go for it, granted, it says that the health is 3,500 for the PentaShield. Now, looking at that, you look at, you know, a wall tile that has 8,000. But what people aren't telling you is, as far as it stretches, for every tile that it takes up, it will add 3,500 to the overall shield. So if we were just to do the math on just these 4 tiles, okay, with the 3,500 that they give us, okay, 3,500, 3,500, that's 14,000 total HP on just 4 of these walls. Now, these walls can be stretched up to 15 tiles wide, 15 by 15, so they become pretty big. So if we look at like a PentaShield like this, right, this PentaShield, now if I did the box formation like this, just think of how much health that this box will have. And las guns and stuff like this can't go through PentaShields. They can only go through your foundation blocks. So what people are doing is they're building these walls, all right, and they will put them, do a solo replicator, they'll put them in, and this will be their base, and they'll build inside here all of their components, okay, because you're still going to need power and stuff, so you'll need to put down foundations and stuff to access the power here, okay. So now that the DD base building part is kind of over, let me go ahead, let me show you a couple of nifty little tricks that you can possibly do with your storage containers and stuff like this. You know, make them little hideaways and stuff like this. Little nuances and little tips and tricks for your base builders. So if all you were here is for the honeycombing, yep, turn it off right now. You're all set. But if you want to see how, you know, I optimized my space in storage containers, stay tuned. I got you covered. And, you know, we're going to talk about how I did my distills too. So in my base, these are all the fabricators that you get in the game, and I put everything together, okay, as close as possible, because I don't like running around my base trying to find everything. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So, of course, I got my garage out here, but a nifty little thing that I did with my storage containers is I actually started putting them inside these little doorways. So when you look at the little doorways, so we'll see here, like, this is where all of our spare T6 ornithopters are, stuff like that. I have drop boxes, extra water for just in case anybody needs it. But I love this like little layout that I did with these doorways, okay? You know, components. Now, I'm going to show you the distills. Now, the distills, you can access them. I don't really need any water at the moment, but I put 6 in here, and they're all stashed away, nice and neat. I should probably redo this wall. Flame me in the comments below about my wall. It's okay. I appreciate you. Do hit that like and subscribe, though. It goes a long way to help us out. So these Fremen distills, like, I run 6. I don't really see much more use. Like, need that much water. But this is what I did with the Harkonnen doorway. So I put the chest right inside the doorway. It actually seemed like it got a tighter fit when I used the Harkonnen set, which really looked nice. Now, I did this for, you know, the guild. You know, I put my buggies and stuff in here, and they can access this. And this is actually the locker room for, you know, putting gear in, putting stuff in that, you know, you want to hold on to, or, you know, we just dump random, you know, stuff in here. Well, I guess, yeah. So these are our main storage containers. I was able to fit 3 of them in here, which was kind of nice. So of all the building blocks and stuff like that that you possibly may need. So that is one of the cool little ideas that, you know, we came up with here at Cuddles R Us. So also, like I said, I love this layout of having the chest inside the door. But then we, of course, you know, we have the upstairs chest, steel, aluminum, whatever we may need. So all of the ingots that are made here go right into these boxes. So these boxes hold all of my, you know, stuff, and then this one holds just whatever. But I really wanted to break this one in, but it turned out like this was a lot harder to fit than I originally anticipated. And as you can see the theme here, like I went through a lot of these. Like I love that kind of layout. But I also went through and I did this. I really like this for when people need to grab stuff and they're on the go. So armor, you know, build tools, respawn beacons, lights, thumpers, which I gotta make more. Yeah. Some belts, some spare parts. Of course, can't go far without those. More spare parts. So power packs. Then we have our rad suits. I made sure that I put the rad suits in a different container because when somebody asked me for a rad suit, I'm like, hey, just go to the small storage container in the locker room. So, you know, just some weapons, compactors, and stuff like that. Because we go through a lot of them. But then also, you know, I kind of like this layout as like a changing room. It looks really good. I think it really looks kind of nice. All right, we'll go down and we'll see the bottom. I'm giving you a full base tour now, so please do hit that like and subscribe. It helps. So this is the vault room. Now, in this room, nobody has access to but me and co-owner, so Mrs. Cuddles. So all of these boxes are filled by me or her. Well, mostly just me. So, and when we look at these boxes, and we did it. I loved how the stairs turned out. Like I used triangles to make the stairs. Turned out really well. And then, of course, more storage. But this is all the backup storage that we have for the, you know, for us. And, you know, if guildmates, you know, run into issues, we always have, you know, we can always help them out to get back on their feet. Which I got to fill that one back up. But I'm really saddened by how much these medium storage containers can actually hold. Cobalt paste, I believe, weighs way too much. Like, weighs way too much. But then, of course, all the water one will ever need. Like, oh, I guess I could have thrown a couple bodies in the distills, but I'll do that later. The one generator, the biggest mistake that I made. See how it says no power? I built it for my video talking about power, and I kind of left it for nostalgic reasons, but I don't run it. It just sits here collecting dust. So made the fuel for it and everything else because all my generators, you know, 31 days, about 6 hours. So now I did make the tower. Okay, it's right above the garage. Now, the tower is the Harkonnen tile, and then I made sure that I put the wind turbines right inside of it. Okay. Now, as you can see, I have all my wind generators in there too. Um, I no longer have a roof on top because I used to have a roof on top of here, but then I found that some of my water wasn't actually getting processed. So I ended up taking it out. But it was a nifty little trick. I'll shoot myself over there and we'll go in. So what we did here, come on. So what I did here is, you know, I put little cutouts so the wind or the wind traps, right, aren't covered up. So these aren't actually powered on at the moment, just due to the fact that I don't really need water. But, you know, when I look at, you know, how much power generation that I actually need, you know, I'm generating 8K, you know, I only need 6. But if I turn all these back on, since I have 8 of them, you know, they start sucking up a lot of power. So, you know, it goes up pretty quick. You know what? I might as well turn them on since I'm down on water, right? Yeah. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. So does make it tricky to, you know, fill these up, but they're hidden, they're out of the way, they're not in my build. So I really enjoyed this kind of layout of it. And this tower just kind of happened by, you know, happenstance. So but with 8 of these generators, with 8 of these, right, I only run the directional turbines. If you haven't watched my power video, you'll understand why. These are, in my opinion, the one that provides the best power to cost ratio, seeing how, you know, irradiated slag and stuff like that for the spice power generator. It's just more cost effective to use these because you'll gain more. Well, unless you're rolling a spice residue like I am, like it doesn't even matter. I'd rather be efficient with my cost than sit there and waste it on something that is going to get me nowhere, and waste up a ton of resources that, you know, you don't really need. So do keep that in mind when you're looking at, you know, other people's guides out there, because, you know, me, I'll show you the entire base. Like, I'll turn all this on. I wish there was an easy button to turn everything back on, but so 7,000, what is that? 7,480 with these turned back on. And I might have missed a couple, but, you know, whatever. I'm in the video. I'm off script. Yep. It is what it is at the moment. I'm just giving you a base tour. So with like big pentashields, like what I have here, that's what it kind of looks like. The storm's happening. So I also have like little bungalows for people, you know, to hide out in if need be. But with that said, the base tour is over. If you liked any of the things, leave it in a comment below which one you liked the most. And what did you like the least? You know, maybe I can fix it. Maybe we can work on it. With that said, I will see you guys on the next video. Please do like, subscribe, hit that bell if you want to know more. Come hang out. The Discord's on the page, so come join. But with that said, I'll see you guys on Arrakis.